Did he call them hacks?
Yeah, he did.
Jesus Christ.
He did call them hacks.
I like this idea less and less every time you mention, Jesus Christ.
Where is Namsan Tower?
There is Namsan Tower!
심사숙 여러분, 더 이상의 음악은 없다. 더 이상의 댄스도 없다. 그들이 들어왔다.
Welcome to the 3% Podcast. This is Chad Post from Open Letter Books. I'm here with Tom Roberge from Albertine and from New Directions. And I'm just back, literally, from Italy and Korea. So if I drift off in the middle of this, Tom, that's just what's going to happen.
I will take it as an insult.
I slept, my sleep patterns are so awful that both Saturday and Sunday I fell asleep at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock and slept till like 6.
It's too much sleep.
It's in the middle of the day. It's horrible. Fucking jet lag is the worst. But we had a couple of things we wanted to talk about today, starting with this idea of a Translators Union.
Which I inadvertently kicked off here. So Alex Zucker, who I believe is a translator?
Yeah, from Czech.
Okay. Posted on Facebook, and he and I were not friends before, but obviously I got tagged in there. And you showed it to me. It says, Tom Roberge from New Directions at 25 minutes, 24 seconds, says translators shouldn't be treated like dock workers, but actually maybe we should since they earn more than we do. I don't remember saying we, because I'm not a translator. But point is, in the middle of our conversation, I'm sure that arose from discussion of Alta, I must have made this comment, and then on the fly I was like, oh, wait a minute. Longshoremen actually do okay because of unions. And made the comment, and he took it, and he has a thing on his blog, which is really not very much at all. But, it's the beginnings of a rallying cry, it seems like.
Yeah, I think it came out of the article that John O'Brien wrote, where he was talking about how he didn't want translators to be paid.
Right. He's not the only one, but... John would be the one who would hate this union the most.
How do you think that a union like this would work?
It's really hard because it's not localized, right? I mean, isn't that like the fundamental aspect of unions? They're called local number, blah, blah, blah. It is subject to local union laws, right? And they're different within each state, and, they're modified as need be in different cities and areas and things like that. And then, of course, are members to a larger national union. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. Right? I don't really know. I'm not entirely sure because, so I think there's like a few issues. One is that there are unions for translators in places like Germany, or at least there's standards. Like there's a binding sort of contract that the union would say these are the rates that you have to be paid for a translation. You can't get paid less than this, essentially, right? Without violating the union cost. So like the function of the union would be to ensure that translators get paid a basic wage. And I assume that like if it ran like a normal union, that would mean that to get that normal wage, there would be some sort of hierarchy and some sort of negotiation. So like you could have the union negotiate with the big five publishers to set a standard rate for all translators, which would be interesting. But one of the reasons that there's always been a problem is that unless you have a union, translators can't discuss how much they get paid because it's like a collusion situation. Why would that be collusion?
Because they can then fix their prices.
So if they all just stonewalled the publishers?
Yeah. So in theory, they could just be like, no, just don't accept anything less than this. And that way a publisher wouldn't have a free market to like find someone willing to do something for cheaper.
And they would be bound by law to only hire translators that are part of the union.
Oh, yeah. Okay, these are two different things. Yeah, if there were a union, that would fix that situation.
That seems less like a union because, unions exist for hourly workers.
Right.
This sounds more like a guild along the lines of, like, the Writers Guild in L.A., right? Like, these people don't... Like, that way you're paid scale. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That sounds more like what translator would have to do because there are no hourly wages.
How come they can't? Are they part of the Writers Guild, or can they be part of the Writers Guild?
I don't know.
I don't either.
What membership to the guild entails.
I don't know, but there's two of them. Did you know that? You said the Los Angeles one. That's the film writers and TV one, and everyone in Hollywood and Southern California. But there's also the Writers Guild of America East, which represents TV and film writers east of the Mississippi.
Okay. I mean, at one point there was a lot of TV happening in New York, and I guess there still is. I mean, the number of, like, cop shows in New York is staggering. But so presumably they're all living and working in New York. But are novelists part? I mean, I know there is a Writers Guild. What does that Writers Guild actually do? And does anyone benefit from it if they are members? You know,
is it called the Writers Guild? The one that I keep coming up with here for the Writers Guild is the TV stuff. But there is another, like the people who always protect novelists.
There's they have an event every spring or something like that.
Authors Guild.
Authors Guild. There we go.
Yeah, I knew. I kept putting in writers. Is like, this can't be right. So the Authors Guild. Their member benefits are media liability insurance, web services, legal services, backandprint.com, health insurance, the bulletin, panels, and programs. So
it's everything but wages.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I don't know how, as an author, the wages thing, and I guess unless you're, what's surprising, I guess, is that it doesn't have on here a thing about, it does about royalties. That's what I was looking for. This looks more like just news and not like something helpful. But it seems like they would have something like a standardized contract, like what to pay attention to in your contract as an author or things like that.
Any agent worth their salt would already know what that standard contract is. And
right. I don't know that
need an authors guild to step in and do that.
Right. I just don't know that the Authors Guild is necessarily all publish or all authors who have agents, let's say, because you could just sign up for $90.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Like we said, I don't think this is feasible as a union or even as a guild, just because of the way translators are paid, or anyone who's paid, piecemeal as a freelancer. And on a bigger picture, do you not think that this would detrimentally affect the number of translations that are done every year?
Wouldn't that would be a big fear, wouldn't it? Like that if they up their rates in some way. And I mean, it would be interesting. Would be really interesting for someone to do is to do a survey, an anonymous survey, and get some sense of like how many people are getting paid what for their translations and what kind of money we're talking about. Like, is everyone getting this similar sort of rate, or is it really that some people are getting paid like next to nothing? And how varied is this?
And are translators either of what are deemed to be big successful books, or who bring brand name recognition, a la Margaret Jo Costa, getting 3 times as much money?
Right, and to have some sort of data on that would be really helpful.
Again, and it's unfortunate that I do think one of the unfortunate effects would be that big publishers would be like, well, fuck this. I'm not dealing with this mess of guild/union and translators just to publish this book, unless it were a surefire thing. And that's the opposite of the way these things should work. I mean, I absolutely believe in, fucking with the system and making things right and equitable for everybody. But when the publishers have so much power in this situation, I can't see how you would move the line there to get things in a better situation for the translators.
What would be better is if there were some sort of foundation or trust of sorts in which there was money that was somehow donated or generated that could help supplement translator incomes.
Just like a big old pool of money for people who can prove that they make their living as a translator. And,
yeah.
Supplement, more artistic art projects and more literary things, and allow them to do them, but still get a reliable source of income.
Right, exactly.
Kind of like welfare.
Yeah, welfare. I think they should have welfare. Welfare for translators, translator welfare.
Well, I mean, going back to Europe, you mentioned Germany. I mean, think about, like the French Film Foundation. I mean, it's, you can get movies made pretty easily because of the amount of, institutional money that exists in France to make films. And same thing with writers. And I don't know how this would work for translators or, obviously it's just a matter of like proving that this is what you do for a living. And that's not too difficult for people who have only done even just a few books. It's just setting up the mechanism, the political and, financial mechanism to make this work. You would just need some, benefactor to start it, I think, and then it would be privatized, and then that causes all sorts of issues. It's a big mess, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. There are other countries are much better about helping fund their artists and translators and whatnot than America is. It's unfortunate. There is so just to tie this together in Korea with the Literary Institute for Translation or Translation Institute, they pay their translators who do one of the books for them $15,000.
That's like twice, at least.
And it seemed the one thing that was sort of weird is that it wasn't clear if they did this based on the length of the book. She's like, oh yeah, we pay them $15,000. So, I mean, maybe it's slightly different depending on if the book's like 200 pages versus 500 pages, but but on the whole, that's pretty solid. And their program is nice. Like that trip was amazing, which I could talk more about. But the way that their thing works is like if we want to do a Korean book, they will pay for the translation. We'll be able to get $5,000. Which is the standard rate. You could get slightly more, but basically you get $5,000 to pay for the rights and production, which is not going to cover both of those things, but as a help. And then approximately $3,000 to do like an author tour or promotion with the author. So you get like $8,000 plus a free translation.
Can I ask the devil in the details question? Is are they selecting the books?
Nope. You get to pick anything you want.
Really? So you can go out there and find the most incendiary book you want and translate it, and they'll...
Yeah.
Because this person wrote it in Korean, it's okay.
Yep. Yeah, they do. They put together... I think they said it was... Oh, now my numbers are getting a little confused, as if it's 13 every quarter. No, I think it's 18 or something like that for the year of books that they get translated to use to shop around. But any book that you want to do, they will pay for the translation.
And is this in what light are they doing this? This is like a cultural exportation thing, or is it the opposite in that they want people to come to Korea?
It's exportation. It's funded by the government, and it's been around for like I think it was like 20 some years. They have their own building, man. Like their own building with like the LTI Korea sign on front. I think they said they have 50 employees who work for them, getting Korean books translated into English, French, Russian, and I think German was the fourth language. And so like the number that I can't remember is like they do like 100 books a year that are translated from Korean into languages, but I think that's all four languages. In English, I think there's like 18 to 20 that they do every year that are ones that they use to then shop around. But they sponsor any number of books that that anyone can come to. Unfortunately, like Americans just don't publish Korean books, so it's not like there was 25 books that came out last year.
Right. So are you going to do any?
Yeah, I'm planning on. My plan is to start a series where we do one every year, and I even talked to her about the people there about the possibility of doing it, making that sort of fixed in stone, sort of, so we wouldn't have to like wait and guess on each one of the books, but be able to do an application all at once for like 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, hopefully do one a year, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that was out there, and we do a much better job. I was going to save this for my rant, but we'll do a much better job than the Dalkey books that they've been doing, because we'll actually read them and proof them.
Fundamental parts of publishing.
You would think. You would think that would be the least you could do for one of these books, but apparently not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this at length last time.
I know.
The business model and how books get sort of pushed to the side in this whole process that he has going on there at Dalkey.
Yeah, there's the one that I finished reading, one of them called Another Man's City on the plane. And just one example, like not only is it like typo ridden and like feels like it was unedited in every way, but the guy goes to see a movie called City of the Blind by a famous Nobel Prize winning author from Portugal, which would happen to be
City of the Blind?
City of the Blind.
Okay.
Which is clearly blindness, and there's no...
Yeah, just look it up.
There's no possible way it's like should be City of the Blind. Like that's just like a clear error. And like the whole book is riddled with things like that. It's super frustrating. Like I went from feeling like they just didn't care, they just put it out, whatever, into like it's really kind of disrespectful.
Really, really disrespectful. Yeah.
And like those covers are so atrocious. Like they don't even want to spend the time to give any one of these books its own unique cover. It's just whatever, fuck it.
What's it called?
Another Man's City.
I want to see how bad this cover is.
It's the same as all the other ones. They're all that.
Oh yeah, these.
Yeah, with the circle, which I don't know if that's supposed to look Korean somehow. But they're all that same exact design with a slightly different color.
Okay.
Yep.
They could be worse.
Yeah, they could be worse. It's just like I can't even keep track of which ones I have because like there's no defining characteristic, but it just feels like lazy. Like you can make it, you could use an element that would make it clear that these are all matching and still make it look cool and like a thing. I can't imagine. I don't have access to all of Bookscan's numbers, but I would be very surprised if they sold more than 300 copies of any one of these.
I'm just curious. I was on Powell's website and there's no copy for the book.
The copy from the book, from the best of I could be wrong about this, so do not sue me for libel or slander or whatever, because I'm not going to say that this is absolutely true, but the copy reads as if it were written by the Korean place. Like this is the copy they use to like pitch the book around or whatever, and that Dalkey just copied it because it doesn't read right.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh, it's actually okay. It is here. I was wondering if they had like somehow forgotten to give their copy to websites, which it's a thing that has to be done. So
yeah, we have to just put it in our systems, but yeah,
systems.
Yeah, I got to do that this week. Now that I'm back too, we have all of our stuff for doing the whatever the books from like October of next year, September of next year through April of 2016. It's always so bizarre.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't miss about being in the office every day is spring of 2016. This is what our list is going to look like. I'm like, wait, what?
I like when I have to write these things. I had to my students do this as part of their like intern learning processes to write like fill out the form that we have to fill out for consortium. That's all that information, like 1-sentence description, 60-word synopsis, that kind of stuff. And they always have a hard time with it. But then I try to explain to them, like, literally, of the books that we have coming out in this next period, I think we have 2 of them, and the other ones are still being translated. So, like, all that I'm making up is going to be complete, like, from like whole cloth, more or less, or from like wherever we got like our sample from. So it's always good fun.
Yeah, I remember when we had Laszlo Krasznahorkai's last book, Sailboat There Below, which is a bizarre, insane book to begin with. We, the same scenario, we had to start, pitching it to Norton, our distributor and sales team, and, various places, and, we're trying to get it done, and, even the catalog goes out well in advance, and, okay, when the catalog is there, maybe we should have the translation in hand.
Yeah.
We did not. But we kept writing these summaries, and, Declan, who was the editor, he would do his best, and then I'd look at it and I'm like, Declan, this doesn't make any sense to me. Are we sure this is what the book is about? And he's like, no, I got this from the translator. And I was like, okay, fine, so be it. And then finally he got the whole book and he's like, yeah, no, it's not this at all. And like, so we tracked like the online sort of description of the book that we changed like 6 times, it would have gone from a completely different book to the one that got published.
Wow, that's
Mind you,
amazing.
there are people who knew what this book was, just no one had any idea how to talk about it.
Oh my god. I'm planning
Published Laszlo, I guess.
I'm planning on using that in my class in the spring, which will be fun.
I wish I could dig up like old catalog copy for that.
That would be great. Was it in the oh, I don't have those anymore. I'll bet you, I wonder if you can find it. No, that would be updated too. It's gonna say in Edelweiss.
Yeah, that's the thing. It all got swapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our print catalog might have a weird description.
That's what I threw that away. I don't think I have that here.
I think they're on our website. Or there are copies that exist in the office.
That would be really interesting.
What else?
But yeah, I forget how we went from from the Union Guild into like South Koreans paying for it. South Korea is the greatest place. I love that country. It was so fun, and everything. Their toilets all have heated seats, and they heat the seats on their subways. It's so nice. It's so pleasant there. And I got one of those, like, I'm not the shortest person always. Like, I'm normal height, which is really impressive. And I did have one of those experiences where people came up and were like, "Can we take a picture with you?" And it's like, I'm the first white cracker they ever saw. Like, literally. Like,
how is that possible?
Here's some white guy with a beard. Let's take a picture of him. I assume it's people that were from, like, you know what? We didn't see that many white people there ourselves. It was mostly Korean and Japanese people that were around, and Chinese, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. But it seemed like it was kids that came from were on a visit to the capital for their first time ever, and we're like, oh my god, oh my god.
That still happens.
It was fun. That was very fun.
I will say, we just. So I've seen Old Boy. Mind you, unfortunately, my impression of Korea has been soured a little bit from watching the Old Boy and Lady Vengeance, and I'm forgetting the name of the last one. But that trilogy of movies by Park. Anyway,
yeah,
and they're horribly violent and fucked up movies. And I just rewatched Old Boy for the 4th time because my girlfriend had never seen it, and I kept telling her, I'm like, all right, this messed up. They're all messed up scenes, but this one, the scene where he eats the live octopus.
Oh wow, I've never seen this movie.
You've never seen this movie?
I know it, but I've never seen it.
It'll change the way you think about Korea. That's for sure. Anyway, I'm sure it's a very pleasant place and they're really nice people. But yeah, to me, it's all gangsters with nefarious plots to kill and poison people. So.
there was literally none of that, nothing even resembling that when we were there, because it was all like the nicest people on earth, and like they're always trying to help you out, even though we were like, I was there with Will Evans and Ross Ufberg from New Vessel Press. And we were fucking hopeless. Like, there's one night where we spent 45 minutes trying to figure out how to get food because we walked around and we were in an area in which there was absolutely no English whatsoever, and no one spoke English. And we were terrified to go in any given restaurant because Will's a vegetarian and I don't like eating fish. So we were trying to figure out, like, how can we go in a restaurant where we're not going to fuck up, essentially, where it's not going to be the situation where we have no idea what kind of food we're getting, nothing. So finally we go into one place because it looked crowded. It looked nice. And the woman that was running it opened up the door and was like, come in, or like waving to us, not speaking in English. And of course we had the worst experience where we asked for a menu and she just started pointing to the wall and all the pictures and words on the wall that were all in Korean. And we're like, no fish. And she's like, fishy, yes, fishy. And we're like, no fish. She's like, fish, fishy. It was like a disaster. We barely made it out of it. We actually just ran. She gave us they give you all the free things at the beginning, like seaweed and mussels and whatever else. And we're sort of eating those and we're like, we don't know what to do. We can't get out of here. And finally this one guy came over and he's like, spoke some English. He's like, I'll help you out. What do you want? And Will's like, well, I want something that's vegetarian. He's like, well, there's one thing that's vegetarian. So he went and talked to this woman, and he came back, and he's like, no, they don't serve that anymore. So you can't have that. So he literally just got up and ran.
out of the place.
Very diplomatic of you.
We didn't know what else to do. We were like, we need to leave some money, and the guy's like, it's on the house, and we're like, God, Jesus, this is so weird. It was a disaster, but we did find then a place where we were able to order things by pointing to pictures and taking pictures of things off of the outside of the building, so we could show them what we wanted. And then they had to come and it was like a Korean barbecue setup, but they came and corrected us on how we were eating because we were doing it wrong. We did everything wrong.
Yeah, I don't know that. Look, call me old-fashioned and cranky, but it doesn't really sound like my idea of fun.
It was the whole thing was pretty funny. All the other times that that was the only time we ate alone, actually. All other times we were with people and basically just sit down and be like, I kind of want this thing, and suddenly there's heaps of food and it would be amazing and delicious, so delicious. But yeah, that one experience was very odd. There was that, and then we met an old guy on the train who was completely insane, and kept repeating that he'd been in the Peace Corps 39 years ago, and that he worked for the Department of Defense, and he had these books with all these stars and circles and codes written in them because he had somehow figured out secrets to the universe through this book about being a winner. He was out of his mind. Completely out of his mind. That was the other very fun and very odd encounter that we had on our trip. I'm really underselling that one, but it would take a while to explain it because it was nuts.
And I'm sure Nate's going to cut all of this anyway, aren't you, Nate?
Probably. But the other thing that we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about briefly, was while I was there, I read all this stuff about how Melville House is publishing the torture report, which immediately brought to mind the Star Report, which came out in 1998. When I was still working at Schuler Books and Music in Grand Rapids. And I remember selling tons of this and it being this quick thing. For anyone who doesn't know, the Star Report is the Bill Clinton investigation report. And when it came out, it was 445 pages. We found that it came out on September 11th. And by September 16th, there are copies of the book in stores to buy, or copies of the report bound and in stores to buy. And I remember we sold a ton of them. There was all this TV news that came to the store to interview everyone and see how it was selling, so on and so forth. But it was super, super quick, 5 days quick. Whereas the torture report, the torture report is going to be coming out on December 30th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and it came out, it was released last week, right?
Yeah, Tuesday, I think.
So it's essentially
the 5th or something?
Yeah, 3 weeks. So there's about a 3-week delay between it came out, maybe even 4, but 3-4 weeks before it comes out in this printed bound copy, which granted is going to be much nicer than the crappy Star Reports, which were essentially as crappily printed print-on-demand books as possible. Although I'm looking at this report from 1998, and there are a bunch of publishers who did the Star Report. There was, the first one was Pocket Books, which charged $6 for it, and they were the ones who got it out as quickly as possible. And then Public Affairs did one same day, but $10. There is Prima Publishing for $10, which was 1 day later, and then much later than that, a month later, there's an audiobook version, which seems kind of insane. But the thing that struck me, yeah, it seems really nuts. It was read by attorney Erwin Chemerinsky. The 4-cassette book was cassette. The 4-cassette book was expected to last 6 hours. Why did they do that?
That seems weird. The Wikipedia page for the Star Report, in its background, says, at the deposition, the judge ordered a precise legal definition of the term sexual relations that Clinton claims to have construed to mean only vaginal intercourse. This, brings me back to college when this was, the debate of the day. Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember the
proudest moments.
And the line that they have right after that is the one that I remember so clearly, waking up and watching this on TV and seeing him say, it depends on what the meaning of the word is. If is means is and never has been, that is one thing. It means there is none. That is a completely true statement. I remember it depends on what the meaning of the word is. Oh my God. Brings you way back. But I think it's interesting with this So with the torture report, that the book's coming out, there was a quote from someone at Politics and Prose who's like, "We're really glad that Melville House is bringing this out, or is publishing this, because that way it can reach a wider audience, or bringing it to a wider audience." And my first reaction was like, "The fuck? The thing is free online. I don't think that there's a wider audience than people who have access to the internet." But like this weird subgroup of like people who have access to the internet, but or don't have access to the internet and buy books from Politics and Prose is this wider audience of which she's referring to.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me tell you, working at a bookstore again, there are a lot of people who are aware of the internet and will use it if forced to, but do not like doing anything there. And I would say that they're all old people. This is not true at all. At all. There are people who are just terrified of the internet.
Oh, man.
They love books. They do love books. So
I'm going to check really quick to make sure this is still true, but I read right after that the number one best-selling ebook was The Torture Report on Amazon, and that it came out as an ebook instantly because, duh, you can do that, and it immediately went to the top of the charts. It is, let's see where it is right now. It is number 10 overall. It's $2.99. Oh wait, this is not it. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. God, there's too many of these. Jesus Christ, there's way too many of these. But regardless, I think this is one of those things that seems to me, I think this is the right one. No. Everyone did it. There's like 17 different versions here.
what?
This one's number 63.
The Star Report?
No, the Torture Report.
Oh.
There's like a bunch of versions of it as ebooks. But regardless, this seemed like one of those things that this is one time where that medium, or that, I don't know what the right term is, that format of the ebook seems really advantageous, because you can then search it rather than having to like read through the whole book or look through the things. It's available instantaneously. It makes sense to me in some way that like this is it seems like a weird moment in time in which those two things, a print and ebooks, can coexist, and at the same time there are certain advantages to the ebook that usually aren't there with most other books.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad that it is done the way it's done, and that when they prepare it, it's immediately available online and that sort of thing. I do kind of dislike the idea that people profit off this sort of thing, but
yeah,
that's another matter altogether, I suppose.
Do you think Melville House will make much off of this?
Well, what are their costs besides printing?
Yeah, there's literally nothing.
They're not paying an author.
They'll pay yeah, very true.
So I was at a bookstore when the 9/11 Commission report came out.
Oh, right.
And we did sell a lot of that, and it's a big book.
Yeah.
And this one appears to have been done in about 3 weeks, too.
Huh. That's interesting.
At least Norton's edition, which is the one that we had.
Right.
Which was the prettiest. 600 pages. And yeah, we sold quite a few copies.
Shit, man.
That said, there was more of there's a lot of conspiracy theory people surrounding 9/11, so
that's true.
They need fodder for their wacko theories. So we'll see. I don't know how many people really want to read about all this horrible torture, but it seems to me like a book that people will buy and never read.
That's true. Yeah, just to have it on their shelf.
Which,
be like, hey man, I've got a book on torture in case you're looking for something.
I am well versed in American torture policies.
Oh man. Yep, that's about right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, look, I'm glad Melville House is doing it. Part of me thinks that Melville House is doing it simply because they feel like they should be the people to do it.
Oh, that makes sense. They sort of are. I would think they're public affairs,
right? But yeah, I really don't like the idea that someone is profiting off of it.
It does smack of sort of a stunt.
Yeah,
like and I mean that's not to say that, not to discount the fact that they should be printing it and it should be available, but there is something about some of Dennis's schemes that they always sort of have that texture to them when they're on the front page of the New York Times and all that kind of stuff. It feels like grabbing some attention,
which needs to be done in order to sell books, but I don't know. I mean, do you know the price on theirs yet?
I do not.
Like, unless it's $5, they're profiting. And yeah.
I was going to say, I bet you it's 10.
So did you know that, you probably didn't know this, but did you know that a lot of classics from French literature and, from world literature basically, but stuff that is like well and truly way out of copyright around the world, is available in French editions for €2.
Wow. That's really cheap.
Which, I mean, Dover does this, but Dover editions are crap. These are like regular paperback editions that are €2.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's
they're not making much money on that at all. When you factor in,
right,
printing costs and shipping costs and all that, and just general upkeep sort of costs, they're just not.
Would that be something though that the French government helps support, underwrite?
It's possible, but it's not only French books. Like there are pocket editions of Spanish and German and Russian writers and things like that too. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's really great. I mean, people come in the store and they buy them, and we convert everything from euros to dollars, but that's still, it's like
$3,
$3 to $3.15 or something like that, if that. And yeah, people are always a little shocked. It's just something we would never do here. Even I've sat in on Penguin's, like the classics, the reprint meetings, and it was always this debate between raising prices. And so what they would do is keep tabs on, Everyman's Library or whatever the one is at Random House and the Oxford editions, because all three of those publishers would have editions of, Anna Karenina. And they would, when one of them raised the price $1, the other two followed suit. And it was things like that. And it was, they did them, and they were, academic editions sort of, and, with all the apparatus and things like that. But, it was definitely not like a goodwill thing. I mean, they were still charging as much as they could for these things and trying to turn a profit.
Especially because they were being taught in classrooms.
Right. Yeah.
So you can totally screw people.
Yeah, there's this weird idea that, and I don't know if, you ever encounter this anywhere, but that academics and students and people like that should pay as much as possible for books because they have money. Yeah,
well, there's also, do you guys, we used to, at Dalkey back in the day, in 2000 onwards, it was standard operating practice to charge a 20% discount instead of the normal trade discount for academic adoptions.
I haven't heard of anyone else doing that.
It was like a normal thing back then, and I think it changed rather quickly too, with like the distributors. But yeah, isn't that nuts? So you just like any book that was being adopted from like the university stores, they would get a 20% discount instead of 45%.
Because they came to you directly instead of going through.
It was through Chicago. The University of Chicago Press was the distribution. What's that?
They still got a discount.
Yeah, just a 20%.
I mean, that's not nothing, 20%.
No, but like it's different. So, but what you say about like getting people to pay more, like classroom adoptions are great because out of every $10 we got 8 instead of 6.
Right.
So it was like a bonus. If you get one of those big classrooms that taught like 100 people to buy one of the books, and you got to sell 100 copies of the book at a 20% discount. Yeah. By the way, you want to take a guess again at what the Senate Intelligence Committee report on torture is going to cost from Melville House?
At least $20.
$16.95 for the paperback, EPUB, PDF, and Kindle. They're each $16.95. That's incredibly expensive compared to the $2.99 one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how substantially different an ebook would be between the two.
Oh, yeah. No, how could it be any different?
It would be no different whatsoever, so...
It's not like they're getting an introduction, and even if they were, like...
Oh, wait, he says the version posted online by the Senate was a low-resolution PDF of very poor quality. It's like a Xerox of a Xerox. And what's more, it's totally unsearchable. That's impossible.
That doesn't make any sense. And that's the version hacks immediately turned into a Kindle edition are selling for $2.99. But our ebook will be laid out in a more fully designed and therefore much more readable format that will also be thoroughly and easily searchable.
Did he call them hacks?
Yeah, he did.
Jesus Christ.
He did call them hacks.
I like this idea less and less every time you mention, Jesus Christ. Hacks? Really?
Hacks. That's the version hacks immediately turned into a Kindle edition.
All right, I got to go to work.
Yeah, I know. Do you have my rant was going to be about how Dalkey doesn't proof any of these fucking books, and I already wasted that. Because
we've basically been ranting about profiting off of political activity.
Did you get caught up on the on listening to the Serial podcast? By the way,
no, I've not even started listening to Serial.
Okay. You know, I've turned on this thing pretty severely. I'm really just irritated by it.
I am prepared to be irritated mainly because I dislike NPR voice and tenor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't like the way they approach things sometimes and the way they talk at you, and I don't know. It's just my own personal thing. So I'm prepared. That said, the subject is interesting. No,
yeah, except it doesn't really go anywhere after the first 4 episodes, and I don't know what the point of it is anymore. At first, I thought the point would be to sort of explore this and create an interesting narrative style for investigating this one particular thing and unveiling stuff along the way and sort of in real time uncovering it. But she doesn't uncover shit. After the first 4 episodes, it becomes more of just all about Carol, I call her. I don't even know what her name is, but she sounds like a Carol and she acts like a Carol, so her name is Carol. And she just kind of hems and haws her way through everything. And it's sort of supposed to be to identify and tell the story of all the different people who are surrounding this particular case, but it's become incredibly boring, and there's nothing being revealed or there's no new insight. It's just the same thing every single week. Thankfully this week is the last one, so it'll be done, but then God knows what they'll do with season 2. But I just don't understand, it feels like it's the only purpose of it is entertainment and getting her some sort of credit for being a white person who likes to talk about things like this and defend whatever. It's got a lot of, I don't know, it's just so irritating. And so for people to donate to it just seems stupid to me. She's just getting she's making a lot of money off of it. They're getting a ton of publicity. I don't think you need a Kickstarter to help fund a second season of Serial.
Yeah, that's really not how that should be happening.
It's annoying. Okay, that's my rant. What do you got for a rave?
A little. I feel like it's my duty because nowhere else would this happen, and my girlfriend is a listener, and she might appreciate this. But her very old and dear cat passed away last week. We had to put him down, and so I just wanted to praise what a great cat he was. And Rico was his name. He was 14 years old. He unfortunately got lymphoma. And sort of wasted away, and but he was very sweet up until the end, and he was a good cat, and he is missed. It's unfortunate, and the surviving cat that we have is he has moments where he's very sad and meows and looks around for the other cat. It's really heartbreaking. Yeah. But Rico was a good cat, and just wanted to say that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. That sucks.
Against cancer, it's a eulogy for Rico.
That sucks. That's always hard. You know what opens today in Chinatown is a cat cafe.
I'm sorry, what?
There's a cat cafe opening in Chinatown today.
What does that mean?
You go and pet cats.
You can go and pet cats.
Yeah.
But you pay someone to pet a cat.
Yeah, you got to go in and hang out with the cats in a cattery.
A cattery? That's not a word.
Yeah, it's a word. It's totally a word. It's a
cattery?
word. I've heard this word a million times. I don't understand why no one knows what the word cattery is. It's a place where cats climb and shit.
A cattery?
Yeah, cattery.
Is it a nunnery?
Yeah, sort of. It's filled with cats, and there's shit that they climb around on. Cattery.
So it's like McDonald's Playscape.
Yeah.
Cats.
Exactly. So you can so they have it in like Tokyo, these in Tokyo, and they have in Seoul, which I didn't get to go to because I had to go catch my plane. But Will and Ross went to one and have pictures of them petting their cats. And yeah. So you can get some, I think you can even get I think it's a cafe, like you can get something to drink / eat there, but you also get to play with cats. There's just cats hanging out. So
I see. I hope these are good cats and not, the kind that'll claw your eyes out.
I think that they probably have to pass a screening, like they have to try out to become one of the cats.
Got it. I will not be going there.
It sounds fun, man.
Really?
Meow. It's called the Meow Parlor. Meow Parlor. Listen to the Daily News headline: New York City's first cat cafe, Meow Parlor, is up to scratch.
Oh, wait! I like that it's the first. Oh, a slew of these is about to open.
There are dozens of them in Asian countries. They're everywhere. It's a huge deal. Wow. Yeah, they got lots of pretty cute cats hanging out. You can buy some macaroons and coffee and pet them.
I see.
Yep.
Well,
I'm sorry about your cat though. That's okay. That sucks.
Thank you.
Okay.
So probably won't do another one of these until the new year, I'm guessing.
I guess we could do one on right before the new year and do like some sort of year-end wrap-up of books that we liked, like we did last time.
Are you working the week between the holidays?
Yeah. I'm not working next week. I have to go to Bay City for my last trip of all trips for this year. And then hopefully I never have to travel again because I'm physically and mentally broken in every way.
You did just rave about cat parlors. So.
I like this idea. I like cat parlors. I like cats. I like my cats, but I also wouldn't mind having like 17 cats that you could pet, hang out with.
Just
over
put
coffee
anywhere, and there's a cat underneath it. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. I'm very busy with work.
And in theory, okay, yeah, that's true. We could do it whenever too, or we could do our music thing. Since we always do that music thing sometime around end of December or January. You don't do it, but that way you wouldn't have to worry if you're working that week when it's crazy.
Got it.
And then I have the Laughable Monsters is supposed to be here today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So we could do that in the new year too.
All right. Sounds good.
If that's the right name of it. Laughable Monsters sounds wrong when I say it. Laughing Monster. Yeah, okay. It's really bright too. Like the fucking jet lag is intense. It's really hard to focus, and everything is so bright. It's so incredibly bright.
All right.
Okay, I'll talk to you later and have fun at work.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye. You know what opens today in Chinatown is a cat cafe.
I'm sorry, what?